Hello, Graham. How are you
Hello.
doing?
Nice to meet you.
Can you tell me something about this new book that we can find in the shops?
Well, it's about the fifth in a series about Detective Superintendent Katie Maguire, who is a detective who's been promoted very high up in the Cork police force. This has happened because the police were anxious to look as though they were treating women rather well, but it's created a lot of resentment amongst her fellow officers. So she has to deal with that, especially the men. You know, the men who, the masons, and the one who play golf and don't really like having women around and telling them what to do. But the main substance of the story is about the revenge that somebody is inflicting on nuns, because some years ago, not really too long ago, there was a very young people in Cork who were brought up by nuns and priests, and all the schools were run by nuns and priests, and the Roman Catholic regime was very, very strong indeed. And in some cases, some of the young girls who were brought up by the nuns have strong resentment against them. And this book is about one of the girls who is trying to get her own back on the nuns who treated her so harshly when she was younger.
Okay, and why this particular character is so favored by you that you always come back and figure out new stories for her?
Well, I've always been interested in writing about female characters. To me, it's a challenge, you know, as a man, to write as though I were a woman. This goes back in quite a long way to when I was the editor of Penthouse magazine, you know, and all the girls who used to come to pose for the Girl of the Month, I used to go to the photo sessions, which was a very, very hard job. You can imagine.
Yeah, especially watching it, yes.
Yeah, I had to sort of watch them and interview them. But while most of the men just stared at their breasts, I used to make a point of sitting down and talking to them about why they decided to pose for the magazine, what they wanted out of their lives, just generally about them. Were they happy with their boyfriend, all kinds of stuff like that. And gradually I began to get, I think, for a man anyway, quite a reasonable understanding of how women's minds work. And I wanted to get that into books when I started to write fiction.
And how the readers are reacting on this character? They're saying to you, yes, she's a very strong character, we like it, or?
Yes, no, they like her character, because she's very, as I say, she's a woman who's been promoted very high up in a man's world, and readers really, particularly the women readers, really identify with a woman who can deal with misogynistic men.
And do you receive many notes of them, what she could do, what she's supposed to do from the readers?
I guess, yeah, I get some. Sometimes I get some criticism. I mean, in the last book I wrote, which has just been published in England, Katie has an affair with a pet detective. There aren't many in the world, pet detectives, but there are freelance detectives who go and find dogs for you.
Yeah, Ace Ventura, everybody knows Jim Carrey.
Yeah, exactly, but there are actually some real ones, and there's a real one in Ireland. Anyway, Katie has an affair when she is supposed to be with somebody else. And I got a lot of criticism for that, for her behaving in an immoral way.
So you make her strict then, or?
So in the next book, she goes to her local cathedral and makes confession.
Really?
and says, I'm sorry for what I did, and please God forgive me. And so in some ways I have taken notice of how the readers have reacted, and I think she's probably come out of that a better woman.
And I want to ask you about some new project that you probably already started or you have in your drawer. Can you tell us something about it?
Well, obviously I'm through. I've been contracted to write 10 of those altogether, and I'm on number 8 at the moment, which is actually based on Irish dancing, which is extraordinarily competitive business, and a lot of bad feeling and a lot of revenge goes on in there, believe it or not. After that, I've got another 2 Katie books to write. I may go on writing them forever because there are so many stories in Ireland. I read the Irish Examiner online every morning, the Irish newspaper, and it's crammed full of Irish stories, which are all very interesting and strange.
But aren't you a little bit tired of writing about the same character?
Oh no, because she develops. She changes. Things happen to her, and and her character develops, and she has affairs with people. She has to deal with terrible crimes. She has to deal with other officers who are resentful of her. And so, and the other thing is that it's set in Cork, where my late wife and I lived for 5 years, and it's a fascinating city. Really, it's an extraordinary place, and there's lots more to write about that.
And when you start writing the first book, could you even imagine that, for example, in Poland, it will be such a hit and you will have so many fans?
No, I had no idea. It's like when I first wrote when I first published the Manitou, you know, the Red Indian demon horror novel back in 1989. I was first approached by a Polish publisher, Tadeusz Zisk, to sell that in Poland back in 1989. Of course, still communist then. And but he rang me up and he said, I can't give you any money because the zloty was not convertible into sterling. And I said, well, I'm not really very interested in that case. But my wife, who was Polish, Wieszka, she was born in a displacement camp in Germany, in Cologne. And she'd never been here. And the publisher said, look, I'll bring you over here and I can't pay you, but I'll give you icons, perhaps, or maybe kielbasa. So I said, all right, I'm going to sell a book for icons or sausage. What's going on here? But she said, please, can we go? I just want to see Poland. So we came over, and really that's where it began.
So actually you sold a book for kielbasa?
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be, but fortunately, by the time the book was published, communism had been, that was the end of communism, and the zloty became convertible into foreign currencies. So I got some money for it. But because it had been one of the first horror novels that was ever published here, first Western horror novel, you know, back in that time, it became extraordinarily popular, and it sort of went on from there.
And you're started to be something we can call icon, because Polish people are writing books and papers about you. One of our dear friends actually wrote a book about you. Were you surprised that somebody is so convinced that your life should be in a book?
Well, it is. I find it very surprising. I mean, as I said to my friends, I'm not Justin Bieber. You know, I will not call my readers fans. A lot of them say they are, but I hate that. You know, because they're just readers, and if somebody reads your book and says they like it, then to me they're not only a reader, they're a friend as well. And that's how I like to see them. And to me, because I've started off as a newspaper reporter, then a magazine editor, writing books is my job. And I haven't got any inflated ideas about it. You know, I just have to be good at it and work hard at it. And if the results are that people enjoy it and want to write about it, well, great.
They do. And even some of your books could be made to movies. You said that
I have had 11 books after The Manitou, of course, was made into a film with Tony Curtis and Burgess Meredith. After that, over the years, 11 of my books have been picked up by quite good studios like Universal Studios. Jonathan Mostow, who made a film called U-3271 about a submarine, was quite a famous film. He picked up a book of mine called Trauma, and I've had loads of other really good studios pick up. Sometimes they've got to almost to the point of being made. Scripts are written, directors are brought in, the talent, as they call the actors, have been hired. But the usual problem is money, particularly with horror books, which are very expensive to do. You know, they're millions. We're talking about millions of dollars to tens of millions of dollars to make a good horror movie because of the special effects mainly.
And is there anything developed right now that you?
Yes, there is. There's one movie which I'm hoping to do based on a book of mine called Spirit, which was about a little girl who drowns but then comes back as a ghost to protect her sisters in a very violent way.
And for my last question, I left one of the toughest, I think.
Okay.
Why the horror makes you so anxious to write, actually?
Well, seriously, life is very horrible. I mean, there's awful terrible things going on in the world. Look at Syria, where small children are being blown up. But even so, there are other fairly horrible things that are going on, like illnesses and people behaving badly to each other. There's murder and all kinds of things. The murders I write about are no worse than the real murders that people do.
Yeah, but you take it on parts, right? You analyze it. You actually relive it again to write about it.
Yeah,
so.
Of course, but people read it, but the point is they can read about it and understand the fear and the horror that goes into it, but at the same time, having read it, they are safe. You know, they haven't been under any jeopardy themselves while they were reading it.
Yeah, but
and I think it helps them to analyse and come to terms with how horrible things are dealt with.
Yeah, but when you spend so many weeks on writing a book, are you sleeping good?
Yeah,
because you think it all over again.
No, I don't. No, it all comes out in the book. I think. You know, I go to bed, I fall asleep, I wake up.
So it's something like catharsis for you.
I don't even dream. Well, I must dream, but I don't remember the dreams. I mean, everybody dreams, but I don't have terrible dreams. As I say, I go to bed, do the crossword, turn the light out, and next thing it's morning.
After some of your books, I had nightmares, and you don't. That's not
sorry,
fair.
I apologise. you are, if you have a terrible nightmare, if you've got proof of that, you can have your money back.
Okay. Thank you very much.